Welcome back to Question Period on this Sunday. The House of Commons is scheduled to rise this week, bringing to a close a busy and eventful fall sitting. Conservative ranks shrank by one after the Liberals convinced a Conservative MP to cross the floor. Then the Prime Minister lost a cabinet minister, with longtime environmentalist Stephen Guilbeault quitting in protest over the government's MOU with Alberta. All of that against the backdrop of a fragile minority government that's just one failed confidence vote away from plunging Canada into another election. Here to take stock of the power dynamics at play is a special edition of The Scrum. Stephanie Levitz is a senior reporter at the Globe and Mail. Joel-Denis Bellavance is the parliamentary bureau chief at La Presse. And Nick Nanos is the chief data scientist and founder of Nanos Research. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Good to see. Can't believe we're heading into the home stretch. Feels a bit surreal. Nick, take us through where things stand at this point in time, like if you talk to Canadians about who they're supporting.
Well, you know, in the latest Nanos tracking, when we look at the top numbers, it's actually a close race between the Liberals and the Conservatives. Liberals have a little bit of an advantage. The kicker is when we ask Canadians who they would prefer as Prime Minister, it's not a little bit of an advantage for the Liberals, it's a massive advantage for Mark Carney. He's at around 53% in terms of preferred Prime Minister. Pierre Poilievre at 25, a 28-point advantage for Mark Carney, not his party, but for him personally on the preferred Prime Minister. The other interesting thing is what people are worried about. People are worried about jobs in the economy and Donald Trump and U.S. relations, but there's been a little less worry about Trump and U.S. relations in the last couple of weeks as Canadians are increasingly focused and worried about their jobs.
The dynamic between the leaders is very interesting, JD. In particular, like every time we talk to Nick, it's like neck and neck, and then when you extend that to the leadership, it's a very different scenario and has been really since the election. And that factored into this sitting with the floor crossers, the cabinet exit, the cabinet exit. If you look back at the last number of weeks, what's the headline out of this sitting for you?
Well, I think if we look in this past few weeks, I would say that the willingness to cooperate or to make compromise has evaporated. And that, to me, is significant. And that opens the door to me for a spring election. Because if vote of confidence will take place in the coming months, the Conservative Party will have voted on whether Mr. Poilievre is the right leader for them. And we'll have a new leader on the NDP. So, and we saw that Elizabeth May has some regrets now voting in favor of the budget. So, willingness to compromise, it's over. And I think Mr. Carney is a bit responsible for that because his budget was take it or leave it. And no negotiations, no talks. So that means that people are, camping on their positions and not opening dialogues. That leads to me that maybe this will happen sooner than we think.
Steph, it's interesting because the when it was a take it or leave it thing for the budget itself, there was something kind of powerful about the fact that they did that in that moment and were able to succeed. But to JD's point, the implications further down the road are much more problematic.
I'm not sure you can get away with doing that more than once.
Yeah,
exactly. It was fun one time, and fun may not be the right word there, but a lot of high stakes, a lot of drama, a floor crosser. I don't know, for example, are there more floor crossers, right? Or is that really a strategy that for this moment in time is dead in the water for Mr. Carney's government? You could look at how Parliament has been functioning the last week or so. It's not. Yeah. Right? Committees aren't working, bills are not getting through the House. That, to me, again, we're getting to shades of a minority leader going to Rideau Hall and saying, government's not working, Parliament's not working, I need a majority mandate. It's happened before, it could happen again. Mr. Carney continues to signal very little willingness at compromise, very little willingness at, reflecting the fact that he does not have a majority mandate, that a significant number of the voting public voted for other parties. Perhaps he thinks what he's doing by cannibalizing some of the ideas from the Conservatives is that degree of compromise. Like, he's like, well, if I'm stealing their ideas, surely they'll vote for my budget, but that's not how Parliament is necessarily going to work. So if there's, to pick up on JD's point, I think cooperative minority parliament doesn't seem to be what's happening. If it doesn't happen in the new year, then yeah, we head to an election.
I think the calculation maybe is multifaceted, but primarily driven, in the case of the Prime Minister and the people around him, by the fact that they think if there were an election tomorrow, they would have a more successful result than they did in the previous one, Nick.
Yeah, but like
things can change.
The Liberals won the last election not by defending their record. the Liberals under Mark Carney won the election because of Donald Trump, period, full stop. And you know, now Mark Carney has governed for a little bit. He's going to have to defend what's happened or what's not happened in terms of what he's accomplished at the since he was elected. And you know, the thing is, I think for the Liberals, you know, the Liberal path to victory is with the NDP collapsing and staying really low, and for the election to be about Donald Trump. The Conservative path to victory is for the NDP to somehow have some life in order to split the vote, and that for the election to be about jobs in the economy and how Mark Carney has not delivered on the promises at the pace that he told Canadians earlier this year.
It feels like the latter half of that argument will be easier to pitch than the resurgence of the NDP, which best case scenario, JD, will take a little bit of time. Where the Conservatives are concerned, what are you watching for heading into that leadership review?
Well, what Mr. Poilievre will be telling his base to keep his job, and I don't think that there's any question that he will keep his job as a Conservative Party leader, but moving that from, will Mr. Poilievre be able to pivot and talk to the broader Canadian electorate and be able to accumulate some goodwill, some good points with the electorate? That's the key question. And going back to what the poll of Nanos is saying, the gap between Mr. Poilievre and Mr. Carney as best Prime Minister is so big that he will need some time to, you know, build on that and try to reduce that gap. It may take a few more than a few weeks to do that. An election campaign events go so fast that Mr. Poilievre might, you know, be in difficult position, but still I think he will win that leadership vote hands down.
What are you watching for as they head into that leadership review, Steph?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I think that Mr. Poilievre, although I agree with JD that I don't think he's not going to win it, he does have to show, even though he says he doesn't, some degree of contrition to the base, some degree of acceptance for the election results that didn't go entirely their favor. From a policy perspective or a party governance perspective, it sounds very weedy. It doesn't really matter, but this is a powerful grassroots party, and they have muscle to flex when they want to flex it. So one of the things I'm looking for is what a deal sounds too nefarious. What does Mr. Poilievre offer them? Is it a policy platform idea? Is it reform to the nominations? Is it something that lets him stay on as leader of a party, of an organism, right? Like an organ of government, I guess, for lack of a better word. I think the second thing, to just build on what JD said, is coming out of that leadership review, Mr. Poilievre himself acknowledges that maybe he is not the most beloved political figure on the landscape right now. Everyone says that. They have a new campaign manager in place now, Steve Outhouse. How are they going to start building out Team Poilievre? Right. Because Mr. Poilievre cannot turn into a magically different person between now and the next election, but he does have around him capable, competent people that perhaps they can start pushing forward, showcasing them, and giving people a taste of what not just Prime Minister Poilievre would look like, but what would a Poilievre government look like?
Yeah, I think I agree with Stephanie 100% on the Team Poilievre, because I think that helps. I think beyond that, just looking at the numbers, for the people that are voting Conservative, they hate the Liberals, they hate the last 10 years, they just want the Liberals out. I don't think Pierre Poilievre has to apologize. I don't think he has to change. I think he has to show that there might be some people around him that suggest that it is a government, not a Prime Minister in waiting, because he's trailing on the Prime Minister front, that the Conservatives are a potential government alternative and a government in waiting, and to hope that somehow the Liberals mess things up, because in most elections, they're lost. And you know, if the next election is about Pierre Poilievre, he will lose. If it is about Mark Carney and the beginning of, you know, the first year of his mandate, then Mark Carney could lose in that instance.
Okay, well, I'm ready for not a Christmas election, but a spring one. Thanks for this discussion. Thanks, everybody. Nick Nanos, JD Bellavance, and Stephanie Levitz. When we come back, as the global economic order ruptures, Spain is looking to boost trade and investment with Canada. Spain's Minister of Economy and Trade will be here after a short commercial break.